My special guest today is with the Names Project, the AIDS Quilt, which is composed of the loved ones making a quilt in memory of their loved ones who have died from AIDS and putting it onto a nationwide quilt. It's become a national thing, and James Bryson, who's involved in the Portland chapter of the Names Quilt, is with me today. How long have you been involved with the Names Project?
I've been involved with the Names Project since the show that was here in Portland last summer.
Yes, when the quilt came.
Yes.
How many names roughly are there on this quilt now?
There are now over 8,000 panels that are made. It represents approximately 1/4 of those who've died in the United States.
And these panels were made by people who knew the person that the panel for the quilt was made in memory of.
Yes, most of them.
And I notice you have a t-shirt, Remember Their Names. And the quilt goes all over the country. I have a book that you brought me here today, The Quilt Stories from the Names Project. And we're going to sort of be sharing from this book from time to time throughout the show. How did you get involved with the Names Project?
I got involved through a friend of mine who died several years ago from AIDS. And when he died, the grief process I wasn't able to put to rest.
Yes.
The Names Project was started in San Francisco, and
In what year?
1987.
Oh, just about 2 years ago.
Yes. The first person to make a panel was Cleve Jones. He made a panel for a very close friend of his best friend. And when he made that panel, he did it in memory and to try to let go of some of the loss that he was feeling.
Yes.
And in doing so, they started the San Francisco Names Project. Since that time, it has grown enormously.
Yes, there are chapters of it nationally now at this time.
There are also international chapters.
Oh, it's worldwide.
Worldwide.
The quilt represents, right here is a picture of the quilt from the book. And this quilt with all these names represents people who have died from AIDS the world over.
Yes.
All over the world.
The quilt this year in its national and international tour will be traveling the U.S. and Canada. And it's extremely excited. The quilt has also been invited to Moscow and to Japan.
Oh, really? Oh, that's marvelous. It gives people, you know, a chance to do something to honor the memory of the friend and the friends that they've lost.
Yes.
You, as a gay man, have lost quite a few friends from AIDS?
Yes, I have. Yes,
and,
I have.
You know, the thing of it is, everybody goes through grief, you know. You know, death is a part of life, you know, and we go through the grief of losing loved ones, you know, and, you know, there's tragedies that hit families where someone's killed in a car wreck, or, you know, people's mother dies, and it's very traumatic and it's painful. But we do, you know, we survive it. You know, we go through the anger, through the denial, and the grief process. But, you know, with the AIDS epidemic, with so many people losing, gay people in particular, losing so many friends so often from it, I sometimes wonder, are we geared to handle that much grief?
I don't think we are. I don't think anyone is.
Yeah.
The amazing thing about AIDS is that it's an epidemic, and people get sick and they die. And with any epidemic, that's what happens. The quilt has given people who've lost loved ones, friends of AIDS, a way in which to remember their name and to remember them in how they make the panel. Some panels have persons' names on them. Some panels are done anonymously because the families do not wish their child's or parent's name mentioned as someone who's died of AIDS.
Right.
A lot of the resentment towards the disease AIDS is shown in how people don't want other people to know about the disease.
Sure. Yes, I noticed here in the book, you know, the quilt stories from the Names Project, a panel made by the 12-year-old son of a gay man who died from AIDS. And he writes, "I have decorated this banner to honor my brother." I'm sorry, it was his brother, a 12-year-old whose brother was a gay man and died from AIDS. And he says, "I have decorated this banner to honor my brother. Our parents did not want his name used publicly. The omission of his name represents the fear of oppression that AIDS victims and their families feel." And this was put together by a 12-year-old.
Yes, it's done in Crayolas.
Yes, in fact, I'd like to move the camera up and share this. I was very touched, and this is a part of the AIDS quilt. And move the camera in, you know, so the audience can see it. And there we go. And it's done, you know, anyway, we'll get a focus there in a moment. And this is a part of the quilt done by a child in memory of his brother. And I know I've lost some very, you know, dear friends too, you know, and I've gone through it. I know this one gay male couple who lived in San Francisco for a number of years, and about a year and a half ago they moved back to Portland because, or they moved up to Portland, and they said that in San Francisco they were burying at least 2 or 3 friends a week, and they just said they just couldn't handle that continuing grief, and so they had to leave San Francisco because of it. Have you known of other instances like that?
Yes, there have been approximately 10,000 deaths in the Castro area.
In the Castro area of San Francisco?
Within a 10-block radius of Castro and Market. And it's very sad. The quilt is representing such a large part of our society, and it's also representing, now that gay men practice safer sex, now that they choose not to expose themselves to the disease, the population is now turning towards IV drug users, and that is the newest high rating for HIV positive.
Because the AIDS epidemic now has been around for a few years, and many, you know, gay people have changed their lifestyle and their sexual practices, and are either in monogamous relationships, or not having sex at all, or being careful that they practice safe sexual activities. So that would stand that the higher percentage now of people that are testing positive to the AIDS virus and being infected would be the IV drug users.
That's right.
And it's not, you know, AIDS is not a gay disease. It's a people's disease, and it affects, you know, everyone.
I think that's a very important message to put out. The quilt is not a gay quilt. It is a quilt that's been done for and by the people who are affected by it. And anyone can make a panel. Anyone can be touched by someone who has AIDS or who is HIV positive.
I was just looking at this, it's hopeless. I had a friend a couple of years ago who died from AIDS, who wanted to reach, you know, his 30th birthday, and didn't quite, fell short of about 3 months, you know, of reaching his 30th birthday. But he also told me that he felt good because he did accomplish in his life, you know, what he had set out to do, and his career goals, and were you know, satisfied. And it's, you know, so many people that are young, you know, and babies born with the AIDS virus too.